Hello and welcome to another small SvelteKit tutorial, and I've got a message or a comment that suggested I do something about generating PDFs, and I think it's an interesting topic, so I prepared something, and let's dive in. First I want to show which NPM module I chose, because I think you want to dig deeper into what fits your needs. For example, I used here pdfmake. It's fairly popular, I would guess, with 800,000 users, and but it's implemented in pure JavaScript. This has the advantage you could do it client side, so you could generate the PDF on the client's browser. Also, of course, server side, and it has a small, I think, nice or easy to use API. But I guess if you want to process a lot of PDFs and stuff, maybe you want to look in different solutions that maybe use a native C library in the backend, so it's faster. Or maybe I know there are some packages and some solutions that use templates you can create with Word, and that use that as a source. And that can also make it easier for you or your clients to create the templates. But in this video, I'm gonna show pdfmake. And cool thing about pdfmake is it has a small playground. So it's on the left side you define the template, on the right side you get the result. And yeah, the really cool API it has, I think, is you just provide an array with some text, and it gets printed. And then you can go ahead and do styles. For example, here a header style. You can define, like in CSS, some stuff, and you can do columns fairly easy. You just add a columns array, or tables, super complex tables in tables. Of course, also styled here differently, and lists, margins, so you can create really powerful layouts with it. And so yeah, let's dive in, I guess. So I'm gonna go back to my code. So we are here, and we first, of course, need to install dependencies. First one is pdfmake itself and blobstream. What that is, I'm gonna go into detail later. And then I'm also gonna add the type packages for both of them. Yeah. And the PDF I want to create is a small album fact sheet. So if we go to any of these albums here, we maybe want a fact sheet to download. So let's do that. And for that, I'm gonna first create a button on our album page. And the button is just a link, and I think it's below the artist name. And what I'm doing here is just call the API album with the ID, and then /PDF, and then I'm gonna put any name in here. For me, I do just get the album title to lowercase and replace all the empty spaces with dashes. And it's just a link with download sheet as text. So let us quickly check it out. Yeah, looks fine to me. And now we go ahead, and now we need to create this endpoint, of course. So let's go into the API folder, and here we're gonna create a new folder called under here PDF, and then / the name of the file, PDF sheet, and in there we gonna create a new handler and .server.ts. And we want to start with the most basic one. So we do a get handler, and the get handler satisfies request handler, so we get our type safety, create and we do the basic stuff. If we check if we actually get a valid album ID in the URL, and then we can start generating a PDF. So I'm gonna create a function for that, and in the end we gonna return that PDF. We set some headers, so content type is application PDF, of course. We get the size, last modified, we generate a new date, and we say cache control 10 minutes. Great. Yeah, and then in the end return the response. So I think we should now create this function, and I would say it's best to do this in the server folder and create a PDF folder in here, and then I do a generate album sheet album PDF .ts. Yeah, okay. And so what we can do first is we want to maybe select a font. The PDF, of course, needs a font, so we can actually write some text. I've downloaded the Inter font. I just went ahead and go to fonts.google.com, and here you can just go, I want maybe sans serif and display. Oops, oh, that's really slow. And you just can select anything you like, and in the end you can download family and you get a zip, and in that zip will be these TTF files, and I just copied bold and regular because that's the only styles I'm going to use. And we can start off in our generate file and reference them. So we create a fonts object, and we put the name of our font in here, and we say, yeah, these are my two styles, normal and bold. And now we can go ahead, and then we can do our function gen. I'm gonna disable Copilot. So gen our album, and we get the album ID, of course, and we promise a blob, the file, the PDF file. And then we can go ahead and create the content of our PDF. Oops. And this is this type. This is really nice if you have type safety here. And let's just start with hello world. Great. And then we can also put default styles in here, and we actually have to, because we want to say we want to use our font Inter. Okay, great. We also want to set up our printer. This is just we import PDF printer from the module we downloaded. We pass the fonts, and we get an instance of a class called printer, and we can use that class then to create a PDF. And now we still we get a stream of this PDF. So where does it say what the type is? This PDF document. I still have to thought this was, okay, it's an own type, okay, but it's basically it's a stream or writable stream, or I don't actually know. Now we have to pass a stream into this pipe function, and this is now here you can pass in the documentation they do they pass let me quickly find the example. They pass a file system, so they write the file to the file system. I think this can work great. Here they call fs.createWriteStream and write it basically to the file store system. This can work if you maybe want to use it later, but in our case here with our SvelteKit app, we want to directly return a server to the user. So I think it does not make sense to go to the file system first. So let's just keep all this stuff in memory. And for that, we downloaded the second module, blobstream, and we import that here, blobstream, and we pass it to this one here. Great. And then we can do an on handler and say finish blobstream.on finish. Why does it? It wants this. And we here get a function, and we actually can't use an arrow function, I guess, because we have to rely on this. So let's do a parameter, so we can type this scope in this function, and we say it's a iBlobstream of the type of the blobstream module, and we just can call this to blob, and then we get our blob. This returns a promise, so maybe we should return new promise, resolve reject, and we can actually resolve this. And then we get our generated PDF if we actually call, so that's what we have to do. In the end, we need to call pdf.end. So this actually does finish in the first place. And I also like to do a on error handler here, so we can reject any error. And yeah, this is basically it. And if we now go to a server and import this, we have to export this function first. Export default. We maybe can. Yes, we can use it, and yeah, we still haven't used the album ID in here. That's fine. You can just maybe put it in here. It wants a string, and so let's go ahead and go to our Svelte app and request our one, and we get a result. We get our first PDF. Great. Hello world and just the ID. So this works fine. We still, I think, need to make the content a little bit more interesting, or actually about the album. So let's go ahead, and now we can first, I guess, get the album info actually. So we reuse our database functions get album by ID, and let's say yeah, the top of the page should be the title of the album. So let's remove this, and now we use an object, not just only the text, but we pass this album title as a text and then pass a style object and say h1. And h1 is something we need to define ourselves. So here we can actually do a styles object, and then we say h1, and Copilot still activated. And now we pass I need a comma here. The font size, so it's basically like CSS, or more like the React CSS because it's not hyphened, it's camel case. But font size, bold, true, and margin, I think it's this is basically the bottom margin. I think he's left, he's top, he's right, he's bottom. And so let's quickly check if this works. So, and voila, we get our new title. Great. And I think the next stuff is to do some more info. So we go ahead and can just put a new line in here and say it's by this band. And let's maybe next show the tracks of the album. So I'm gonna create a tracks thing, and again a new style with the H2. And this one is not bold and not as big, it has a smaller margin. And then we can go ahead and we should fetch the tracks of the album first. We already have a database function for that. Check out the playlist in the comments if you want to see how we made that, for example. And the tracks I think should be an album, should be in a table. So let's create an object, and here we can use the table keyword, and we can then go ahead and do a body in here, and we can then tracks.map and return first, I guess, is so we get track and I, and we return an array. So the body is an array of lines or rows, and each row is an array of columns. So return array, and we say the first is I+1 for the line number basically, and then we say track name, and at last we can show the duration of the track. Great, and let's test that out. Great, so we now have a table, and this may need a header. So let me quickly paste a header, and you can see here I created a style called table header. So let me quickly copy that. Table header is bold, has a font size of 13, color black, has a background, it's a margin, and let's see how this looks. Great. And maybe we want to also use some of the layouts. So if you look at the documentation, a table can have different layouts. So we have to do this beside the table object, and then also say that we have here only one header rows. And this basically says we only get this header line here. The examples for the other layouts are in this playground. I'm gonna link it. So this is this one, and so it has some default styles. No, I think it's actually this one here. And yeah, great. So we have our nice table now. I think it gets more interesting if we maybe put the we have a small album image for this album here, so let's do that. For that, we can check first. So in this album type has an image name. So not every album has an image, so we check if we have one. We can then go ahead and grab that. Get album image, and then we need to provide the image for the PDF as a base 64 path. So we have two options. We can do this by setting a file path. But again, in our case, or in my case here, I store it in a database, so I don't have a file path. But we can also do this as base64. So it's just encoded, a huge string. And so we need to convert our blob. So we get a blob here. Or this object has a blob in it. And we can convert it quickly to base64 with a helper function. Let's put that above that. And we insert the blob, or we pass the blob here, and we create a buffer from it. A buffer from await blob.array buffer. And in the end, we return data and the blob type. So the MIME type is this. And then base64. And then we can say buffer to string base64. And this is a string we can use as an image. So we can then just call our function and we get this base64 string. And this can be undefined for albums that don't have an image. And then we can go ahead. I think it makes sense maybe below the, above the tracks to put it. And we can say, if we have this a value in this variable, we can say we want to do an image, I say with 100. So this makes sense if you have different sizes of images to limit it and say max width of 100, or each image is 100 pixels wide. If you only put one, the PDF library will automatically keep the layout, so it doesn't make the image how do you say it? It keeps its dimensions, so it doesn't tear them apart or something. So the height will just be calculated relative to the width. And let's see if that does work. Yeah, great. So we get our image in here. And at last, I thought it makes sense to do some, so this is basically just the stuff we already have on our page. So we could do this on the client. So all the stuff I did here, we could also do it in the browser. But I think this fact sheet download may need some additional info that's not on the page. So we can actually have a reason to do it on the server. And let's add a section with other albums of the artist. So create a new header here, and then we need to fetch the other albums of the artists. And this is actually a new function, so I'll go to my database folder and copy a function in here. Let me quickly grab it here. So we pass artist ID and album ID, and we select just from our albums. We join the artists and also the images if we want to. And we just filter where the artist ID is the one we passed. And we, in the end, just filter itself out. So we only get other albums and not the one we came into with it. So we can use that and import the function, and now we get an album array. So can use that to generate our PDF. And this time we do a small list. So I'm here. Okay. We can also, like in HTML, do an unordered list. There's also an ordered list, and this time we just map over this this album, this array, and we say text is a title, and we can also pass a link. It's just a local host for my test, and if you would do the link to the production app and to our album. And okay, I added a style link here, but let's quickly check what does happen if we don't add the style. It's just black text, but you can see if I hover over it that my cursor changes, so it's actually a link. So I think we should add a style called link and it's just blue text. I need to add a comma here. It's just a blue text and an underline. So if we do it again, we get our beautiful link, and we can click on it, and we're back in our app, and on a different album we can download its fact sheet. Here we have no image, and we can go back to our first album. And yeah, this is basically it. This is how we can generate a PDF from within our SvelteKit backend, or with this library you could do it also on the client. I hope you find this helpful. Let me know in the comments if you have any feedback or something else to notice. And thanks for tuning in. Enjoy your day. Bye.